I'm Joseph Malcolm with California AgNet here with Jeff Bitter, President of Allied Grape Growers at the Grape and Tree Fruit Expo at the Big Fresno Fairgrounds. We just had the state of the wine and grape concentrate industry, and I wanted to talk to you about the highlights and share with those that weren't able to make it or want to look back at those things.
Sure. So what was the primarily focus today was where we're at in the business in terms of supply and demand balance, kind of reflecting on the 2023 crop, and now that we're wrapping it up here pretty much this week as we're speaking, and what it means going forward. So, we've had some challenges over the last few years, short crops, due to various perils, whether it's wildfires, the drought, the September heat wave last year really knocked back our crops in each of those years. But kind of what we talked about today was even in light of those short crops, and in light of a crop that will probably be similar this year in terms of tons crushed, we're not really in a good supply-demand balance situation as we move forward, which is kind of frightening. You'd think after three crops, shorter crops, that we would be in better balance than we are. So we talked about the headwinds, the things we're challenged by and we face as producers, given the market today and where consumers are at, and some of the attitudes and consumer behaviors. And really, like I said, I wish I could give a lot of positive news and say, this is a growing, thriving, upward moving industry. But right now we're facing our challenges, and those challenges have to do with, anti-alcohol messaging. They have to do with the fact that, wine per serving is more expensive than other alternative beverages, and we're up against competition from other beverages. And so there's just lots of things that are challenging us. We are potentially, out of balance on supply and demand. Even though we've had those short crops, we still have a lot of acres in the ground that need to come out potentially as we move forward. So there's just a number of concerns that were brought up today that we need to address as an industry. We have a general lack of marketing and promotion. We've been getting information from wine industry analysts for years about changing demographics and changing consumer preferences, and it almost seems like we haven't done a whole lot to proactively address that. And now we're starting to feel, some of the negative effects of that coming to fruition. So we talked about ways to keep the market balance going forward, what needs to come out of the ground potentially, and which growers and which areas growing what varieties would be perhaps most vulnerable to a difficult market as we go forward.
Well, given the difficulty in the market, where are the advantages?
Well, I would say as we've, kind of come out of the last 2 or 3 years where we've had a little bit better supply and demand balance, wineries have been actively contracting grapes on multi-year basis. So not all of the grapes are traded on the spot market every year. There's the majority of wine grapes grown in California are actually traded under multi-year contracts with price supports, i.e. minimum prices. And so the advantage is that most growers they fall into that category. They're not necessarily, without a contract and going to be subject to the spot market. But I'd say going forward, that's definitely going to be a factor in your success as a grower. Do you have that contract? Do you have price support? Or are you on the spot market? And then beyond that, of course, what variety are you growing? What region are you growing in? Because certain segments of the market are suffering more than others. The low end continues to suffer disproportionately compared to the high end of the wine market. So, there's lots of different dynamics, lots of different variables, but because of the amount of contracts we've had, multi-year contracts going forward, a lot of those will be expiring, and some of them expired after 2023 crop. That means that there's potentially more spot market grapes available for the feed in the future, but it also means that wineries have the flexibility to seek out alternative supply. So there could be opportunities for growers, even if they're on the spot market. If you're growing favorable varieties, you have favorable quality. Those wineries are going to go out and repurchase grapes to fill their needs, and they're going to cherry pick, the best growers, the best vineyards. So there's opportunity within this. It's not doom and gloom for everybody, but you have to be self-aware of, do I have a marketable variety and vineyard, or am I, in a position where I've got a challenged vineyard and I need to consider removing it?
Well, thank you so much for being here, for sharing, and keeping all of the growers updated. Read more about these things in American Vineyard Magazine. I'm Joseph Malcolm, CaliforniaAgNet.com.